Welcome to this webinar on Zero Trust data access and collaboration for remote workers, and how that's a new imperative for enterprises, not just because of COVID-19, but that's kind of accelerated things along a bit. This webinar is sort of tailored towards MSPs. My name's Zachary Caldrick, MD, Regional Director of Exis UK and Ireland. I am Business Development Manager. We're an innovation company helping technology companies go to market in Europe, and specifically UK and Ireland I focus on. And we're actively looking for new MSP partners in the UK and Ireland to help us take this product, FiveFlex, to market. But this webinar is more to frame Zero Trust and why it's so important, and then focus in on a particular use case, which is around data access, collaboration, and file sharing. Just a bit of housekeeping. During the webinar, all the attendees will be on mute. Please feel free to ask any questions via the chat button on the Zoom webinar, and we'll respond to any questions via email afterwards, along with answers. So, as I said already, I'm Managing Director for Exis UK and Ireland. My background is in telecom, software and digital innovation. Spent more than a decade helping enterprises and clients within the UK and further afield deliver transformative tech solutions to enable new services and support their customers. And my goal here is to bring a distinct UK perspective and introduce the webinar, particularly in light of COVID-19, and talk about how we're encountering various problems with UK-based IT operations in this area. We also have on the line Philip Bliss. Hi Phil, how are you?
How you doing? Hi everybody.
So Phil is the founder of the Edge Computing Association, and he will bring to the discussion how Edge is moving into all sectors of industry, IT, Internet of Things and AI. He's a digital marketing pioneer and a technology entrepreneur, and he's been at the forefront of digital media development for the past 20 years. And then last but not least, we have Tom Ward, VP of Marketing at QNext FiveFlex, who are a Red Herring Top 100 Global Award winner. Tom's a 30-year veteran in IT and technology, and was one of the founding employees of ATI Technologies, holds an MBA from Schulich School of Business at York University, and has extensive experience in both large multinational companies in tech like NEC and small entrepreneurial startups like ATI and more recently QNext. He's a senior marketing executive with extensive experience motivating and leading teams and successfully developing global distribution channels. As you can see, he's also a comedian with his current backdrop of and his stockpile in his basement at home.
Yeah, I was going to say a major investor in toilet rolls. Yeah.
Yeah, major investor in toilet rolls. So hi guys, and welcome, and thanks for supporting this webinar. And I hope you both like your introductions.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dan.
that's me.
No problem. So I want to start with why is Zero Trust relevant today, and a quote that specifically talks about accessing networks and data, sharing data. So according to Gartner, by 2022, 80% of new digital business applications open to ecosystem partners will be accessed through Zero Trust network access. And by 2023, 60% of enterprises will be phasing out their remote access via VPNs and replacing them in favor of Zero Trust network architecture. What is Zero Trust networking, and why should enterprises implement it? So I want to start by talking about traditional perimeter-based security and just sort of frame the conversation a bit before we go into any more detail. So traditional perimeter-based security enables security and protection using antivirus software, port firewall lockdown, VPNs, technology that's been around for the last couple of decades or longer. And it works on the assumption that all users inside the perimeter are trusted. Whereas Zero Trust, as well as having perimeter-based security, works on the basis of always authenticating, always verifying all transactions all the time, with a never trust, always verify model linked to users, their devices, and so on, where access to data is secured and controlled for a zero trust policy engine. What's the benefit or why? With zero trust combined with perimeter security, you can eliminate unauthorized access to data and services, and couple that with making the access control enforcement as granular as is necessary. So I want to talk as well about the benefits of zero trust. So we see in the news all the time breaches and companies being held to ransom. Recent high profile ones in the UK are Tesco and Boots, where their loyalty cards were susceptible to hacks and had a lot of data stolen by hackers. They're just some big name examples of hacks, but had they had zero trust network architecture, perhaps they would have been more secure. The worst type of breach comes from a malicious insider, which is why perimeter-based security is not enough. Zero trust offers more with end-to-end encryption throughout. The analogy I always like to share, and you're probably all wondering why we've got pictures on this slide of a couple of packs of M&Ms, but it's the easiest way to explain the difference between perimeter-based security and zero trust network security. So if you picture a crispy M&M, it's hard on the outside, it's crispy, but then it has a soft center. So it's very easy to break. Once you've broken through the edge, it's easy to move around, and it's obviously soft centered. You can access any part of it. Whereas peanut M&Ms not only have a crispy, secure outer shell, they also are hard to penetrate throughout. So when I always like being in sales, talking about stories and giving a story to try and visualize some of the things we're talking about, especially in tech. It's easy to get lost in acronyms and technical terms. So I always think it's best to try and link it into something that everyone can understand. But the key thing really when it comes to zero trust is it offers more than a line of defense. It has significant security benefits that deliver considerable business value, whether it's regulatory or professional compliance, as well as security in the organization. And that means that you can remain secure with the fact that you're protecting all of your data. And it leverages the latest technology in terms of the edge computing framework, which mentioning that gives a nice handover to Philip Bliss, founder of the Edge Computing Association, who will talk through his view on the market. Hey, Phil.
Yeah, thanks very much, Zach. Okay, everybody. I just want to make sure you're sharing our screen. You got the right screen?
You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I think for people in the UK, they may not be that as familiar with the Edge Computing Association, which began about a year ago. We've really been kind of focused on North America, and now moving to become really an international community-driven news and media platform. We have about 200,000 subscribers, so we've got a fair amount of following and news, opinions, events, education, careers, lifestyle. That's the kind of thing you can expect from us over the next year, basically. But I'm not here to talk about the Edge Computing Association, except really to kind of discuss the trend. And the Edge Computing framework, we all know, is becoming much more common. Edge computing is a bit of an exploding area as organizations push key data processing functions closer to the edge of their networks because it's more efficient. Okay, and with the arrival of 5G, that efficiency also, the problems of latency and that have been early issues, will fast fade. But shifting so many key tasks to the edge of the network, has challenges. The greatest challenge is really to do with security, and how do you overcome the secure side of it? Well, really end-to-end encryption, which has been around for a while, but is certainly gaining momentum, facilitates the type of encrypted communication that only the standard receiver can read and see, and obviously that kind of mirrors the edge distribution, data distribution that happens. So zero trust security, for edge applications can now grow along with edge network applications, and that's That's really, really important. But because by combining these two cutting edge technology, you can deliver precisely the infrastructure governments, institutions, and enterprises need to safeguard their information data. Just a little plug for the ECA. You know, if you look on the site, and I think next week we go live with it, there's a great interview with a fellow called David Bruno, CEO of Safe Swiss, all about edge-to-edge security, and it's really useful. And I think, you know, today we've got to realize, you know, we're in the era of COVID-19 and pandemic contingency planning, and you know, the massive escalation of remote working and therefore the security issues surrounding that is now an even more vital priority, because it's not going to go away. I think we all know that. You know, we're not going to go back to where we were prior to COVID. So large remote workforces are going to become the norm. And today's webinar really, you know, we're interested in it as an association because it looks at a good example of how to manage this accelerated change in you know, in the workforce location, if you like, and share data without endangering corporate security. So with that in mind, you know, Tom, why don't you give us a little bit about FiveFlex and how it facilitates that?
I thought it would just be appropriate to do so from my basement and my hoard of emergency supplies.
Okay.
Just joking around. As you can see, also my hair is getting a little shaggy, long. I haven't had a haircut in a while. So the big decision before this webinar was, do I give in, allow my wife to cut my hair before the webinar or after the webinar? And as you can see, I chose the latter. It's either come with shaggy hair or unevenly cut hair, possibly, you know, so, but no, I'm actually working from home. I'm going to change my background here for you. Just a second here.
As you can see, we're all self-isolating. We're not actually in the same office as much as it's
But we are,
And on the topic of haircuts, before you go on, Tom, my wife got hold of the clippers in the first week of COVID and shaved mine off.
Okay, Tom, over to you.
So what I want to do is talk about this product that you can offer to your clients and how it addresses these four major inflections that are going on right now in the marketplace. And the first one is the rise of the distributed workforce. This is a little bit different than the remote workforce, where you have, we've been equipping them now for years. The remote workforce is really employees who are working from home or from a hotel room. Distributed workforce really says, hey, you can have contract workers, you can have gig-based workers that can be located anywhere in the world. And that's really become the norm today. Your gig worker could be doing, like, for example, a website development, and he might be located in Vietnam or something like that, right? You're not going to give them access to your VPN because they need to have tools that allow them to be productive as well without sacrificing your security. So distributed workforce, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the emergence of hybrid IT and how organizations today use a combination of on-premises and cloud-hosted infrastructure. That's what hybrid IT is, and that's really the norm today. And you know, that presents problems for remote access of traditional perimeter-based security has a problem with. And those two trends also give rise to the movement towards zero trust policy, a zero trust policy engine, and what that means and how zero trust addresses the issues that come from a distributed workforce and distributed issues that come from hybrid IT. And those two also bring forth that importance of data governance. We've seen governments getting involved in trying to regulate security and privacy, such as GDPR. That's been reflected in some of the products. Need to make sure that it brings data governance back to the IT department of the client that you have, or back towards you if you're doing that IT on their behalf. And then I'm going to talk about all of this in context of our product and how it addresses those inflections with FiveFlex Enterprise, which is a solution that you could offer to your clients, hosted and managed by you as your own service, okay? So go to the next slide here. So that distributed workforce, I've kind of gone into it already, but it is a virtualized workforce that encompasses not just remote employees, it has those, but also contractors and gig-based workers. And this is where the modern workforce is moving. We tap into global talent now. Your clients are tapping into global talent pools, and they have to be able to do so securely. We know that 70% of the workforce today is working remotely at least once a week. And your organizations, your clients are doing that because they see a performance increase. The stats are you get about a 13% employee performance increase because they work from home or they work remotely, and there's fewer distractions. It's easier to put in more hours. And a typical business saves about $11,000 a person per year when they move to a distributed workforce. And it's been enabled by things such as your smartphones, your mobile devices, VPNs, software as a service, cloud storage, remote desktop, email, and it's just been accelerating with the arrival of pandemic planning and contingency planning and COVID-19. The problem with distributed workforce and enabling them is it introduces significant issues with security and privacy. So for example, you're not going to give VPN access to somebody who's a gig-based worker. Nobody does that, right? It's just not appropriate because what you're doing is you're giving them access to the entire network infrastructure. You put controls around that and policies around it, but still then you got to manage it on every single worker that might only be working for that gig for, a week or two. Or a contract worker is another one. So in some cases, you don't give contract workers VPN access. And so in some of the tools you use with, for example, cloud-based sharing, then you're putting your files and your information in with third-party cloud providers. And that introduces compromises to the privacy and confidentiality of those files because the cloud provider has legalized access to them. Government agencies have legalized access to them. Even under some conditions, foreign powers have legalized access to it. Obviously with some kind of judicial oversight, but they have access to it. It's all done in secret and you don't know about it. So there's compromises to privacy and confidentiality of those files. I could do a whole webinar on that, and I have. And then the other one is that uploading and downloading, managing files when you're using these tools, even if you're making small changes, that impacts your productivity. So if I'm editing an AutoCAD file, those files could be huge, which brings to the fourth point, they're really big. And I just want to change a little change to it. I've got to upload it. I've got to download it first, and I got to make my change and upload it back. Uploading might take, 10, 15 minutes or more to upload the file. And so the employee, what he does is while things are uploading, he goes off and has a coffee or he starts a conversation with someone else. And so all of that impacts your productivity. And you've got to manage all that. You've got issues with storage space. You start running out of storage space, so you start managing what's in the cloud, etc. That all impacts productivity. So before I go further, I think I want to give you an understanding of FiveFlex Enterprise and what this is, the solution that you could offer to your clients. It is the industry's first secure remote access sharing and collaboration platform for hybrid IT. So essentially you want to think about it like giving cloud functionality, that remote access sharing and collaboration, to your client's own storage, all their storage, whether it be on-premises storage like a server or a NAS, their SharePoint storage, or their cloud-hosted storage. So it supports the entire hybrid IT infrastructure of on-premises SharePoint cloud. It employs a zero trust policy engine. I'm going to get into these things as we go along. It's based on that decentralized edge computing architecture. We don't rely upon a centralized storage location for everything. We utilize the storage and the processing power of the edge devices. This is why we're here with the Edge Computing Association today. It brings in IT control or MSP control over file sharing, either one. And one of the useful features of it, which is that the ability to create for the user to create a virtual data room. And in that virtual data room, they could have a place where they could allow colleagues and clients and vendors and suppliers to upload files into a confidential folder. They can do so without any extra cost. They can have as many virtual data rooms as they want. They can have as many recipients of that data room as they want. It can be 100 or 1,000, doesn't matter. Each recipient can have its own, they can control the sharing permission levels with each recipient. It can be view only. They could say you can access it, but you can't upload to it. You can't download from it, or if you can download, It has to be view, or if you can look at it or share it, you can only do it in view-only mode. Things like that. You can allow for editing and whatnot on a user-by-user basis. So given that, I want to talk about hybrid IT for a second. And hybrid IT is that combination, if I'm going to define it, it's a relatively new term in our business, and of both on-premises storage, such as a server or on-premises SharePoint or private cloud or a NAS device or even personal computers. It's a combination of on-premises storage and cloud-hosted storage or infrastructure as a service storage. So that could be your Microsoft Azure or your Amazon storage or services or your Google Cloud or even SharePoint Online or maybe an EFSS provider like a Box or a public cloud. And the use of hybrid IT and the use of cloud-hosted infrastructure has been driven by the understaffing of IT departments. They've been going through reductions in force. And for them, this is very easy to use. It's a very good leverage of time. So you could spin up a new VM, for example, in a cloud hoster in 5 minutes. And it's running pretty well, versus if you had to do it on yourself, you have to go into the server room, go into the rack, buy a new server, put it on there, connect the cables, put on your operating system, put on all your security measures. It takes a skilled person, several hours to put on a new server, versus a cloud hosting service, you can do it literally in a few minutes. So 90% of companies are using cloud hosted services today. 60% of your workloads are running in a cloud hosted service. And the thing about them is they have great tools for IT, fantastic for you to get on there and do things and spin them up easily and manage them easily. But they have very poor tools for the end users. The end users are kind of out of luck. They have to access to a virtual private cloud, anything that's on there. It's not well integrated into the company. It's a silo of information. And so what FiveFlex does is it allows you to access, share, and collaborate from the infrastructure services as well as your on-premise services from a single pane of glass. So from one dashboard, it's all integrated together. And if I want to move files from, let's say, from my Azure storage over to my Amazon storage, I can simply cut and paste and move it. And then it all works through the server in the background. If I want to move it from my personal computer over there, it's all done easily through the file management capabilities of FiveFlex to a single dashboard. We're the only product that gives you that support for hybrid IT. And it's a great product for you to offer your clients because they have no solution for that today. Now I'm going to switch over to Zero Trust, because Zero Trust has really been the solution for security, because now as you get into the hybrid IT and as you get into the distributed workforce, your network architecture has been changing. Now more services have moved to the cloud. There's been a surge in software as a service providers. Users are embracing more flexible working devices, a variety of locations. And so the network perimeter has been disappearing. And with that, the value of traditional perimeter-based defenses are becoming less effective. And in a zero trust architecture, that trust is removed from the network. So just because you're connected to the network, just because you're inside the network, doesn't mean that you'll be able to access everything on that network. That's what we see in a breach. An adversary would go to one of your clients' users, and they would get through a phishing attack and grab the credentials, and then they get in. And then once they have the credentials, they move laterally through the organization. They find the assets that have some real value, like maybe a server, and then they install ransomware on that server. And that's how they work. They work through penetrating the perimeter defenses, but once they're inside, there's nothing to really stop them. It's very difficult, right? So in a zero trust architecture, that network, if you're inside the network or you're external to the network, it's all treated as hostile. And protection using antivirus software or port lockdown VPNs isn't just enough. You have to always authenticate and always verify all transactions all the time in a never trust, always verify model, okay? And you eliminate that external unauthorized access, and you make everything as granular as possible. So this is a statement from the National Cybersecurity Center from their alpha release, just came out last month, kind of saying what I've been saying. It's a good read. You want to look at it when you get a chance, okay? But it's basically the same thing. You want to build trust into the zero trust processes, okay? And that's what we built into our product. You know, we have the patented network that abstracts the infrastructure from the information, protects against unauthorized access. Access is granted solely when the data is required. Authentication is performed before the connection is established. We abstract the information from the infrastructure. A competitive solution would either grant access to information on another server, could be on a third party like EFSS, or they could give direct access to the infrastructure like a VPN or remote desktop software. And think of FiveFlex like a bank teller. You know, if you go to the bank and you want to withdraw some money, you go to the bank teller, you're not allowed to go in to the vault and get the money yourself, right? The bank teller has to verify that you are who you say you are. They check your ID, right? Or they check your bank card. They then check to make sure that you have enough money in your account that you're allowed to withdraw that money. They check your policies that you're not over your limits. So they verify who you say you are. They verify that you have the funds. They verify that you have permission. And then the bank teller goes, gets your money, and he gives it to you. You can't go in and get it yourself. And that's how FiveFlex works. That's how a zero trust policy engine works. They verify the users, they verify the devices, they verify the policies against the policy engine. And then the connector agent goes and gets the files for you. And it's all done through a secure anonymous token exchange. And it's given to you on a point-to-point encryption, and it's done almost instantly. And then so there's a bunch of zero trust processes that we put into the product, such as secure processes to access, secure, and transmit data. They include user authentication, secure data transmission, accessing information processes, protecting credentials, use of anonymous tokens, request management processes, permission management processes, and it all integrates into a very robust security feature set that you may already have, or your clients may already have, such as two-factor authentication if they're using it, or multi-factor authentication, or device authentication, their virus scanning, their single sign-on, their Active Directory, their LDAP. It all uses AES encrypted hybrid point-to-point communications. It has an activity log for incident management. I'll kind of get into those in a minute. It's all done through an edge computing architecture, so we don't put all the storage on a central server. It's all leveraged through the storage and the processors of the edge devices. Very cutting edge that way. We're the only company that has a zero trust engine. We're the only company that uses the edge devices. The only company that product solution that supports hybrid IT. It's all done through very secure and patented technology. It is really a very cutting edge solution that you could offer your clients very securely. And then we have a security arrangement, joint development arrangement with Intel to enhance security through the SGX enclaves of the processors. And particularly this is coming true with the Intel Silver Lake project coming in their next generation of server processors, where you can secure encryption keys directly in the SGX enclaves of the server chip, even in a VM environment. And you know, what they say about us is, you know, software is no longer enough to combat today's cyber threats. The hardware enhanced solution based on Intel architecture is the way forward. And now with Intel Silver Lake SGX technology and FiveFlex Enterprise, organizations have a secure remote access, sharing, and collaboration platform, which is a silicon to silicon hardware enhanced solution of all files from their source locations, okay? And that's the critical piece in a solution path to a more secure enterprise. This is something that you can use as an optional security layer that you can put on there at your discretion for your clients, or the clients can put it on themselves if they want to, okay? And enhance it with silicon to silicon file sharing. So that brings us to data governance, you know, because, you know, the rise of privacy regulations, professional standards, data governance you've been sharing it with third parties, you've been moving your network perimeter. And so, you know, where is it today? And so first thing you want with data governance is you have to integrate with the existing tools that your organizations or your clients already have, such as single sign-on, two-factor authentication, device authentication, password policy, fingerprint policies, your Active Directory, your LDAP. We do all that. We give you user management tools that either the IT department of your clients can use, or you can use on their behalf, where you can add and delete users, set permissions, manage the access control lists. You can manage the storage repositories that they can access. You have the storage management. You can assign storage, or the IT department can assign storage to users on a device level, a drive level, a folder level, or even file level granularity. Okay, so you have all that control over the storage, the users. You can even manage the sharing permissions. So you can say, this folder cannot be shared with anyone. You can only remotely access it and view it, okay? Or if you can share it, if you're allowed to share it, then it can only be in view-only mode. No electronic downloading of these files are permitted, okay? But people can, you can share it and they can view it, but they can't download it. Or you can say, no, they can download it, and they can edit it. You can give them full rights if you want to. So you have, the IT has the ability to set those permissions. The users also have the ability to set their own permissions. You get file sharing management, so you can determine who can share outside the company and who can add their own storage options. You have incident management, so you can access logged activities, so the activity log. You can filter them by user, date, or downloads. You can export them to your incident management software and integrate it directly into your incident management software. So it can be always seeing the data. Lastly, I want to mention that FiveFlex has a very low cost of ownership because we don't have to build a big third-party data center to store everybody's storage. You know, we leverage the storage devices of the edge devices. It's a software-only solution. There's no additional hardware required. You can run it from a VM. It's a multi-tenant VM that you can host for your clients, or they can host it themselves. So there's no additional hardware required. It can run from a VM. It's very simple and easy to deploy and manage. You can easily scale to thousands of users in a very low cost, efficient manner from one little VM server. It's easy to use. There's no extensive training required. There's no upfront costs, very low monthly pricing per user per month. There's no cost creep to your clients. They don't start paying more later for more storage. They don't start paying more for more bandwidth. The cost is the cost with no creep. Okay, so it's a great solution for you to offer your clients and become a virtual operator. Okay, and what I mean by that is that you offer this as your own server. You install the server on your own infrastructure if you want to. It's a multi-tenant server running from a VM, and you know, you offer it under the product brand of FiveFlex, but the vendor brand is your vendor. It's your service. You build a customer. We don't build a customer. You decide the pricing that you're going to. You charge them, you decide how you're going to offer it, whether it's in conjunction with other products and services that you offer as a bundle, or whether it's standalone offering. It gives you that sustainable business model of a recurring monthly revenue. And as you add more users and more clients, you build your monthly revenue, and it continues on for as long as they're using the service. It's very easy for you to scale and grow it. We supply you the VM server for free. Okay, and you can install that with your clients for free. The server is no charge. They pay one low monthly fee per user. They don't pay for anything extra like the servers. It's very easy to integrate and test. It gives you a complete dashboard for how to manage your clients. Or for them, they have their own dashboard. They can manage their users if they want to, or you can manage it on their behalf. And it's very easy to get started. You know, we have a no obligation contract. There's no obligations. There's no risks. The server's free. We give you a number of free seats so you can deploy it internally. We give you a number of free seats so that you can offer free trials. And so we don't get paid till you get paid. You don't start paying us until your customers start buying from you. And so we make it very easy for you to get up and started. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Zach.
Yeah.
Okay. And Zach can tell you about how to get started as a FiveFlex virtual operator and how you can get started today offering this to your clients. Okay.
Well, I want to thank you and Phil, first of all, Tom, for excellent presentations and for taking the time to go through on this webinar. I think it's been really useful, and hopefully the participants enjoyed it. As we said at the beginning, any questions that we've received, we'll share Q&A afterwards. Don't think we've had any on this session, but otherwise been very good. If you want to get in touch to arrange a demo, or you'd like any further information, you can reach out to me. I'm Zachary Couldrick. I'll obviously drop a note with my details to people afterwards as well. And yeah, I think that was a great presentation, Tom, and just want to thank everyone who's joined. as well as the panelists, including myself, and wish everyone a good rest of their Thursday. Have a nice evening, and we'll see you again sometime, of course.
Thank
Thanks,
you, everyone.
everybody.
Cheers. Bye-bye.